badass. You hear that? This is a Ibanez Roadstar 2, mid-80s era guitar. I'm just doing a complete setup on this. We're going to check all of the electronics, intonation, string action, fret level, fret crown, adjust the truss rod to get the neck relief out here. Obviously the neck is real dirty, so we're going to clean that all up. This will look completely different when this guitar is done. So you can get a good idea of how grimy that fretboard is, or the fingerboard. You can see that somebody went after this strap button with some super glue. And I'm going to remove that and polish that to the point that you won't even know that that ever happened. The made in Japan Ibanez neck plate. It's a really cool cool old guitar. We're going to get this thing up and shredding soon. It has all of the original parts, pieces in the actual original factory sealed bags. Tremolo arm, the truss rod wrench, and all the other Allen keys are actually in the original package that this guitar came with when it was purchased. So pretty cool to see all of that in a guitar that's this old. Guessing probably 1983 would have been the body. We're going to get started on this. Before long, I will have the neck removed from this guitar and have it on my bench so that I can do a perfect fret level. They've shimmed the neck down here with an Ibanez stamped shim, the D240. Got the neck pulled off this thing, and as you can see, it looks just as dirty as it did before. So we're going to get to cleaning this and level it off and level the fretboard. That's coming up next. Oh, one of my favorite things to do, clean this fretboard, clean the fingerboard. Just giving you, the rough once over here. Let's see how much gut comes off of here. You saw the fretboard and how nasty it was, all the goo laying alongside the frets. Look at how nasty that gets. It really gets dirty up here in the money spot where everybody, and then the frets up at the top end where they don't get played get tarnished real bad. And, it's just a good idea to clean them off every once in a while. Everybody has an old toothbrush. I still use this. It keeps my teeth clean and works well on guitar necks too. So you can see all the goo coming off of there. So we'll wipe this down, probably give it one more good brushing. So just wanted you to see a little bit of the nasty work that we do here at the guitar shop. It's fun. Hello. So here we are with the fretboard all taped off, or the fingerboard all taped off. You can call it a fretboard if you want. I call it a fingerboard or fretboard. Depends on what day of the week it is. Colored the frets with the marks a lot, and we'll begin our passes over the fretboard using two hands, and we'll be sanding in one direction just to make sure that everything is congruent.
Yeah, congruent, yeah.
Everything's congruent. I had to take an English class there. We'll get going here. I'll come back. You'll see what these things look like after my first pass and getting it level. We'll see which frets have low spots. Here we are with the portion of this job where we begin to crown the frets. And I've hit the first 7 or 8. And you can see the dark blue line. And then on the tops of each of these where I've marked it with blue, I've got that minute, tiny little flat spot right on the very top. And that's my crown that I'm looking for. And we're consistent throughout with the same width on that. And keeping that distance really small and narrow makes certain that there's very little contact with the fret by the string, which adds to sustain. It helps the intonation of the guitar and makes the playability really extra special. So if you're wondering about the blue wood on this guitar, it's because this is tape. I do that so I don't mark on the fretboard like I would have right there where that little blue spot is, or this little blue line right here. It avoids me hitting the fretboard with a file, or protects the wood on the fretboard. So I'm going to continue crowning these guys, and then we'll polish them. Well, here we are, and the frets are now crowned, and you can see that We've removed just very minute microns of material off the sides of these frets. They are all perfectly crowned. The fretboard is perfectly level. Time to polish these guys up. In the meantime, you remember on this guitar that it had a bit of super glue hanging off one of the strap locks. While I have the neck off of the guitar, I'm going to go ahead and take care of that super glue. In the order of operations, that makes sense, because now I don't have to deal with the neck being in the way of getting that glue off. So here's a look at some freshly crowned frets. They look beautiful. I have crowned and polished these frets. Polished them with up to 2000 grit sandpaper. This is the type of sandpaper I use. I am going to polish these guys with a special tool. With some polishing compound on that. This is 2000 grit. These frets would be absolutely friggin' awesome the way it is. So I'm going to hit them with some polish. I don't even know if I'll hit these with Neverdull at this point. I usually do, but I'm trying something a little different. We'll kind of go across these guys. You can see how shiny they are. So we'll be right back after I've polished these, and we'll do the same shot here, right around the. Put that fret right over on the edge of the screen. So we'll see what this looks like when I'm done polishing them. All polished up. What do you think? Look at that. The polishing compound and the tool that I'm using to polish these frets is truly a winner. Here's a shot of these guys now that they're polished. That's what you want your frets to look like. These things are perfect. I'm going to hit them again with the polishing cloth to make sure that I've gotten all the residue of the polish off of there. I think he's going to dig these. I hope he wears them out quickly. I have the saddle all put back together, and I took a good guess at the intonation. We'll see how good my eyesight is and my intuition on a mojo. We have a missing fret marker right here. God, look at those frets. Aren't those fucking awesome? Here's my new fret marker. And you may be wondering why I have it attached to this Dremel tool. Take a piece of sandpaper. I'm trying to show you on the camera how I actually do this. A piece of sandpaper right here, and we grind in a circular motion and check our fit. Still a little too large. And we'll check our fit. And we're still a little too large. So, I'll be back when that's all finished up. We have a new fret marker. And once I got that thing started in there, I simply shot a little super glue and used a razor blade to scrape the excess off the top, and it's perfectly smooth now. Looks great. Pretty simple. Well, here we are back with my favorite part of doing a fret job, is peeling the damn tape off the neck. It sure does make the job go easier and cleaner and all that, but I just call them bullshit on this. So aside from putting strings on the guitar and getting to strum it for the first time after setting one up, this is my second favorite part of the job. I mean, polishing the frets is really cool and crowning them and all that, but putting the oil back on the fretboard after it's been cleaned, and this process and the material that I use, which is linseed oil, I got this from Keith Richards Guitar Tech. If it works for Keith Richards, it ought to work for you. And you'll have a very long, lustrous life if you use linseed oil on your fretboard. Look at that. Boom. Back to life. And I put this rag down here at this end just to keep some of the oil from getting on the finish, because it spreads a long ways. We don't soak it. We just put it on there and wipe it off. So look at that wood, man. A beautiful piece of rosewood. Gonna feel really great. Takes about a day or two for this. I use the unboiled linseed oil. After putting the oil on there, go back over the frets, because the oil kind of dulls the frets a little bit, and this rag gets the final little bit of oil off the fretboard. The next step is to string this motherfucker up. Look at that. Pretty beautiful guitar. Look at that wood. There you go. Can't wait to get it strung up. We're going to have to adjust the saddle and all that. And we are using, this is his brand, the D'Addario XL, EXL 110s, 10 to 46 gauge strings. There you go. And we have the saddle set so that it's perfectly flat with the body, so we have some room to move the pitch up and down. And typically what I've found is that that is where these floating tremolos that are built to float work best. The guitar holds tune best. And what I recommend when you have that is to use some Big Ben's nut sauce on the nut here where the strings pass through it. So you got good lube on that. This thing seems to be holding tune really well. I'm about to set up the intonation on this guitar, and we're just about done with this. I got intonation. I've got the neck relief set, got the string height set, super low action like you wanted. Low E here, we're at 4/64ths, and on the high E here at the 17th fret, 3/64ths up here. After the fret level and crown, zero, absolutely zero fret buzz on this, even at that low action. The guitar is doing exactly what it was meant to do. So it's time to do the intonation. I will bust out the old Peterson tuner and get the intonation set up. And I'm hoping my guess on this was close. I'll get to that here in a minute. I just set the saddles up just by eye to set up this intonation, and here's your low E open and fretted at the 12th. It's perfect. I can't believe it. I got really lucky. A little flat. Let's see how this A shapes up. Perfect. Close enough for rock and roll. A little sharp. We'll fix that. Well, the Roadstar is done. Something I kind of discovered on this guitar is that when you put new strings on this, it may not need this the next time it's restrung. What I found I had to do to get this thing settled in for the tremolo to stay in tune was just really kind of beat it a little bit and get it working. It's not really designed for, you know, big old dive. So you can hear that the guitar is a little out of tune at this point. So it's not really designed, in my opinion, or the engineering on this isn't really perfect for doing dive bombs. All the other setup is, I've already quoted all the dimensions and stuff. The pickups are adjusted to Fender specs. The guitar sounds great, plays great. I've figured out the controls. Kind of complex controls. You need to know what's going on with that for specific tones. The single coil sounds are awful noisy, which is expected. Otherwise, the thing is done. And we'll give you a little run up the guitar neck. Kind of see how everything's looking. I've played it a little bit now. Put a little gain on it. Did some real clean tones. Beautiful sounding guitar. It really holds tune well. Also, I've tightened up all of the machine heads. The screws on the backside were loose and the nuts were loose that hold these on. A really interesting project, and it seems to be working great. Thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't. The blue on the neck was from tape. It didn't come from the Avatar forest. It's rosewood. Peace.